Hey, Stevie on here doing the junkyard crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking with the 1996 Chrysler Sebring convertible, the first year for the Sebring convertible. Now, 1995 was the first year for the Sebring, and let's remember too that 2005 was the year that Chrysler came back from the grave with rear-wheel drive, those wonderful LX platform Hemi-powered cars. But back in 2005, 2006, this was considered a sexy Chrysler. Now, with that said, they weren't bad cars. These sold pretty well. But here's the thing, these shared the cab-forward styling of the Chrysler Concorde and Chrysler New Yorker. And the cab-forward architecture, of course, means that the windshield and the front tire are very close together. And that was all about a maximum-sized passenger compartment for convenience and comfort with less regard for styling. No long hood, short deck stuff. So cab forward was kind of a bummer. But here's the thing. The Chrysler LX platform was a full-sized car. The Sebring was actually mid-sized. When we're talking about the Sebring Coupe, which came out in 1995, that was actually based on the Mitsubishi Eclipse, a Japanese car. Not so with the Sebring convertible, which shared the same styling, but nothing interchanged. In fact, the Sebring convertible was based on the Chrysler Cirrus, which is a larger car, which has a 106-inch wheelbase versus the Coupe's 103-inch wheelbase. So again, the closer we look at the Sebring Coupe and the Sebring convertible, the more differences we see. Now we look at this one here in the back. It does have the drum brakes, but fairly advanced suspension. We can see here that it has a McPherson-style strut, tubular upper control arm, multi-link lowers. Not a very robust suspension. I mean, if you hit a curb sideways, this stuff's going to bend. But again, this is front-wheel drive. Don't look for a differential here. Again, this is still part of Chrysler's cab-forward front-wheel drive era. But again, this is a convertible. These were all built in Mexico, whereas the Coupes were built here in the States. But kind of a quality piece. No plastic window. That's glass. Standard equipment. And again, inside of the Sebring convertible, you know, always automatics, no manual transmissions. By contrast, the Sebring Coupe could be had with a manual, but again, the convertible was strictly more about luxury, and so automatic transmissions all the way around. This one's been pretty well gutted, but of course the airbag here on the steering wheel, SRS, supplemental restraint system, which means that that will pop out in the case of an accident and save your nose. But here's the thing, the Sebring convertible was $19,460 for the base model with a 4-cylinder engine. That was $3,000 more than the Sebring Coupe. But check this out, the Sebring convertible outsold the Sebring Coupe by 15,000 units. In fact, 47,809 of these convertibles were built versus 32,506 Coupes. So even though those were more expensive, these outsold the Coupes by a wide margin, 15,000 units. Now these are front-wheel drive, and well, there it is. Yep, you know, the spindle nut, big disc brake up front. That's cool. A forged upper, sort of a control arm, if you will. That's the spindle right there. It does many jobs out of one part, and pretty beefy stuff. Rack and pinion steering. You know, pretty much state of the art for what it is. And again, this has Chrysler Cirrus underpinnings, not the same as the Mitsubishi Eclipse stuff found under the same car, but as a coupe. Interesting stuff. Under the hood, this one here has the optional 2.5 liter 24-valve V6 overhead cam and kind of a little baby Hemi, I guess you might say. The spark plugs are way down in, well, I can't get them out, but anyway, plugs live down inside these little tubes. Here's the cover for the belt drive for the single overhead cam. There was also a dual overhead cam 2.4 liter 4-banger with 150 horsepower, which was the base engine. This one has 168. Now here's the thing, if this was a coupe, there was a 2-liter dual overhead cam 4-banger, but again, you could not get the little 2-liter in the heavier convertible. So, you know, again, cab forward is all about the windshield being very close to the front bumper with minimal space for an engine. There's no way you're going to get a V8 in this thing here. So again, in 2005, you know, what 10, 11 years after this thing was made, Chrysler went totally different with the E-Class Mercedes bones, with the Daimler Chrysler Union, and really brought back the Hemi and made my world. I imagine you too. But these were state-of-the-art Chryslers in the mid-1990s. Now, this is a Dodge Avenger brochure right here. Now, the Avenger was essentially the Sebring Coupe's cousin, but the Avenger was not available as a convertible, strictly Let me just find here the front wheel drive. Yeah, right there. Here is a nice phantom view of cab forward design. Look how close the dashboard is to the engine. And again, there's no way you're going to get a longitudinally mounted V8 or even a V6 in this. So again, this platform was kind of doomed and cursed to front wheel drive. Although some of these later were all wheel drive, the Cirrus and stuff, but not these convertibles. Let's go around to the back and keep looking. Now, on this one here, the antenna's on the back and the hood on this thing is plastic. Now, I'm not sure, in many cases with classic Mopars, like the 446 packs and 346 packs, those factory fiberglass hood cars from 69 and 70, when you had a radio in those, which most people did, the fiberglass hood would interfere with the fender-mounted antenna. So on Challenger TAs and AAR Cudas and six-pack Roadrunners and 69 liftoff cars, the fiberglass hood stuff, you'll find that the antenna for the radio is on the rear quarter panel. Well, here we have a plastic hood on this 96 Sebring convertible, and the antenna's at the back. It's conceivable that plastic hood might not have shielded the antenna as well from ignition sound if the antenna was up on the front. That's just my theory on that, but we know it's definitely the case when you get back into the 60s and early 70s. Fiberglass hood means trunk or deck mounted antenna. Let's look around inside of the trunk on this one here and see if we find Jimmy Hoffa's body or what in here. All right, yeah. Smells a little bit, but yeah, here's the mouse fur standard issue trunk covering, and this is the mini spare inflate to 60 psi, and the camera doesn't pick up odors, but man, it smells like a fish factory in here. Something is decaying inside of this, but again, inside the tail of the Cirrus-based Sebring convertible is a reasonably sized trunk. Now this one here, we look at the logo here on the bumper and it says, oh, here we go, Sebring JXI. This was the top model. No RTs, but this I indicates dual exhaust. Well, at least 90s style. It's one muffler with twin outlets right here. Now that's stainless, which is specific to the JXI model. Now here's the thing, another 20 years from now, somebody trying to find this very specific JXI only muffler and tailpipe assembly would probably be very happy to have that. I remember back in the mid 80s, I had a couple of 273 4-barrel Dodge Darts, and if you might know, they had a big single exhaust system, but this crazy resonator and muffler came out the back under the bumper. Finding those is like rare, impossible. Someday, mark my words, somebody's gonna say, wow, a JXI muffler and dual outlet tailpipe right here. But again, this is, you know, a popular car when it was new, just about 19,000 bucks, which is not cheap. And these sold very well, but mostly like secretaries and real estate people and stuff like that. The high performance stuff, there was no aspirations or pretensions of fun or muscle with these things here. But just what, 9 years later, 2005, the 300, the Magnum would come out. And of course the 300 with the Hemi engines, and even the 3.5 V6s, even the 2.7 V6s were pretty potent cars with rear wheel drive. So the cab forward thing on the mid-size Sebring, we see it right here. Not a particularly desirable car, but kind of sad to see it in the junkyard. It's not that bad, not that rusty. So if you want to come and get it, just call Bernison Auto Wrecking. I'll leave that up to you. But in the meantime, we'll be back tomorrow with more Junkyard Crawl here at Bernison Auto Wrecking.